In this bonus episode from MMS, I managed to catch 3 legends at the same time while they were on tent duty at MMS. David Segura, best known for his work on the OSD Cloud PowerShell module, Donna Ryan with a GUI add-on for OSD Cloud, Wimwich, and now also working at Microsoft, and Mike Marable, long-standing MMS presenter and config manager / Windows deployment guru. Again, we caught up on various technology pieces, what it's like to help new people in tech, and what they'll be doing each post-conference to unwind. Unfortunately, location and lack of personal mics made this slightly difficult to produce, but I've cleaned it up as best as I can, and it would be a shame not to get to hear these 3 talk. Hi.
Hello.
Well, brilliant to be able to actually grab some time with some of the 3 biggest faces here that people have been flocking to your sessions. I obviously know you. Do you want to just introduce yourselves and just explain where you come from, what type of backgrounds you're from?
Sure. So I'm Donna Ryan. I'm now with Microsoft, working on the Windows 365 team. Prior to that, I was a consultant for 10 years with CDW. Made a former MVP, had to give up my title when went to Microsoft. On a community tool, live in Michigan.
It's interesting that bit, and we'll probably come back to it, that whole having to trade in the whole MVP for the blue badge aspect. We'll come back to that.
Okay.
Some interesting questions there. Mike?
My name is Mike Marable. I work for Michigan Medicine, Ann Arbor, Michigan. Been there for about 17 years, doing OS deployment, system center configuration manager.
Awesome. So well versed with the actual client nitty-gritty in a actual environment rather than consulting side. Brilliant. David?
Yeah, I'm David Segura. I work for Baker Hughes as a client deployment services manager and PowerShell MVP, and I focus on OSD, nothing outside of the OSD bubble.
Nice. And that manager in your title?
Yeah.
Is that
I manage our team of OSD techs, whether it's in-place upgrades, feature updates, our MDT environment, our autopilot environment, so anything related to OSD is what I manage.
Awesome. So Mike, with you being in that customer type role, actually managing devices and so on, what tech really does actually come to the forefront on your working days?
Windows. I suppose that oversimplifies it, I suppose, but I'm kind of the Windows guy at Michigan is. So it's like, everything from deploying it to how we're going to reimage things, what we're going to do with autopilot and Intune, it all eventually ends up on my desk.
So you're mixing in all of the different techs from the traditional config manager right through to the more kind of half-hate the term, but the modern management side?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yourself, Donna and David, what type of things do you mix in?
Since I'm working on Windows 365, I'm mixing in Windows 365, but there's still a lot of the underpinnings between lots of the different ancillary technologies. Azure Virtual Networking. I'm going to touch on autopilot with the enrollment status page. It still touches on a lot of things because Windows 365 is built on top of a lot of different things, and borrows these little bits and pieces to make it work. So that's really all my focus is now is the
365, before we come on to you, David, that's obviously fairly new in terms of the release cycle that's going through.
Yep.
We've seen a ton of new information coming through of all the different things that are coming. Probably with Windows 11 more driving that side.
I think the thing that's really interesting people about Windows 365 isn't the operating system level. And this is just my personal observation. It's not from my employer. I wanted to state that. But I think really what's driving a lot of that is hardware. It's chip shortage, remote work, how to secure those devices. Do they even want to send somebody a device? And with the ridiculousness It's ridiculously easy to deploy a cloud PC.
Yes.
You can have them out in half hour, 45 minutes in bulk in batches. So that between the ease of that, the fixed costs, you don't have to have a big background in client virtualization to put it together. Solves a lot of use cases for customers.
Well, that interested me, that whole deploy it really quickly. Now, I know, David, you obviously have some bits and pieces that you actively work on in the community around the deployment side of the Windows. And Mike, you're obviously deploying that as part of your main core Strat. So move from that traditional approach of using the autopilot. But then David, you've got something that you've been doing completely different, left field. Obviously, Donna, you've got experience with your whole WinWin side as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I bring PowerShell into OSD. I realized years ago that there was so much that PowerShell can do that can help in OS deployment. And most of what I've done is we use in my organization, but I always write it in such a way that everybody and anybody can use it. But PowerShell has probably been my number one, what I've gained the most from, because it helps me do my job, and it helps my team do their job, and it simplifies a lot of our everyday tasks.
It's interesting. So you've taken a PowerShell approach, whereas Mike, you've got that depth of skill within the task sequences and stuff, I presume.
Mm-hmm.
Now, task sequences and to some extent PowerShell have been around for quite some time. And obviously, with Windows 365 being that new kid on the block, that's bringing in both years of learning, new tech that's always coming to the forefront. How do you guys all start to keep up to date with this? It's a general question to you folks.
Yeah, no, so with what Mike said, OS deployment really hasn't changed. This Windows setup hasn't changed. And the fact that it's been so stable for years, it's what gives us time to make new things in PowerShell. I mean, am I right, Mike?
Yep.
I mean,
No, that's true.
Once you get a working deployment in your environment, it really doesn't need to change. You might have to update and replace the media, but once you find something that works for your org, it should be and should always be stable. And that gives you a lot of free time to start screwing things up in PowerShell.
Okay, so it's that idea that you've managed to get that norm state there, get rid of the humdrum of the daily activities and put place of words in your mouth at this point, but then that freeing up of your time to then start to look at what's new and digest information. So, what is going on?
I think so. I think we see the shortcomings in OSD, and we've been doing it with MDT, for over a decade. And these tools have been around for a long time, and so we find these little things that we can improve, and because things are so stable, we can let them run, and we can come here on the side and we can create and build and design solutions. And that's a testament to Microsoft's OS being the fact that they haven't changed the way they do OS deployment in so long. It gives us time to invent.
Donna, yourself, or Mike, sorry, you. Oh, for you.
No. It's a good point, because like the task sequence that we've been using to deploy Windows 10 really dates back to the task sequence I created for when we went from XP to Windows 7. And over the years, you make some minor changes and you fix things here, you add something new there. We went from third-party encryption to BitLocker. But because the deployments that Microsoft's created is stable, you didn't have to reinvent it. We went from 7 to 10. We didn't have to come up with a brand new process.
So it's that evolution aspect rather than revolution.
Exactly.
So, Donna, yourself, in terms of learning?
Well, for me, I am focusing on Graph, PowerShell, and how that works with Windows 365. Since I'm more or less now just head down Windows 365, so that's now that's what I work on. But what really drives it for me, though, for me personally, is just being a passionate nerd about technology in general. When I had this opportunity to join the Windows 365 team, I leapt at it. I was consulting on it. day one, the announcement had been out in public when it went GA about 3 minutes, and I was already doing demos with customers. I had a preview access. So I love the thing. I think it's a wonderful solution. I'm happy to be part of it. So for me, it's not so much a work or a drudgery. It's a treat to me.
So that's an interesting thing. So a lot of people, they kind of preach that whole ethos of you should start at 9, finish at 5, close what you do for work down and out of the way, and then just carry on with something completely different. Do you find the same sort of thing? Does that fit within a tech world? Is that a good motto to have at a personal level? Or do you find that you get a blur between what's tech work and personal work?
I think it's a good goal. Now when I went to Microsoft and they're really preaching, as a lot of organizations are now, that work-life balance. So I took it at face value. So, I try to log off by 5 o'clock and try to keep, that cycle. But, we've got colleagues around the world. So we'll have, meeting, like team meetings at 7, 8 o'clock at my local time. So I'll hop onto those. But the working from home really does kind of, it makes, you don't have that healthy disconnect of leaving the office, relieve your work behind. I found in my consulting days, up till last year anyway, that you never really left work. You get that, just one more email, let me go ahead and answer this IM, and then, hey, look, it's 10 o'clock, and I've been working on stuff. I've found at least sometimes I can just shut off the work profile to really make that break, but you do need to have that healthy separation.
Awesome. David, Mike? I think David's laughing.
I'm the worst person to ask about this. My lines are so blurred, I can't even see straight. I don't get a lot of sleep. My brain doesn't stop. It's always trying to solve problems. Not just technical. I mean, I'm not constantly thinking about work. But I don't shut it off.
Hunger?
What's that?
Solving world hunger as well. Not quite that level of that.
I don't think I'll be able to solve that, but yeah, and that's really me. I can't rest. My mind has to stop before my body can rest. And so I do most of my work in the evening with the community, and of course during business hours, I'm only doing work stuff, not community stuff. Right.
Sure. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But one thing is, I don't look at it as like not being able to shut it off. I think if you have someone in tech who turns it off at 5 and doesn't do anything tech or until the next morning, I don't know if I want them on my team because I want someone who is hungry for more knowledge and who is willing to give their own time up to learn and grow. And I think that earns a lot of respect when you have someone who is willing to do that and then share what they have gained and learned outside of those normal hours, because those are the people who are going to move up and kind of make things better for the community.
I think that sharing point is super good for that. It's all well and good just getting absolutely nerdy and geeky with it and then holding it close as your little empire. Be open and share what you learn.
I don't think there's any MVP that hasn't done community work outside of the normal 9 to 5.
Oh, you have to.
Yes.
I saw you nodding there.
No, I mean I'm not an MVP, but there's people I suppose that go in and tech is their job. That's what they do for a paycheck, and they're the 9 to 5. And then there's the people like us that are. It's called blanking on me now, that cliche, but do what you love and you never work a day in your life.
Yeah,
that's kind of this. It's like we're like I said, we're super nerds. There's the 9 to 5 that I do for my job that I get my paycheck from, but then after that, it's still stuff that I like to do. I still find enjoyment, whether it's it's solving some little problem, some big problem, or coming up with something new. There's that sense of there's something inside that's driving you to keep pushing, keep learning. Don't just walk away from it.
And you don't have to contribute to get to the next level. I mean, you have to have that passion to say, I'm going to do more. I'm going to take my own time and learn and grow. And then eventually they'll come to the community because they'll realize this conference, this is what it's all about, sharing and gaining knowledge. And we talked earlier about people not wanting to ask questions because they're afraid. That's okay. They took the first step of coming to the conference, which is such a big deal because I can tell you there's only me and one other person at this conference from my organization, and that says that we want to learn, and I really wish that our whole organization's IT would want to come to these conferences.
No, that's a really good point because, as you said, all three of you are very passionate on what you do, and you're out here sharing that information. Everyone that's here, like you say, is obviously wanting to learn, but I'm talking to various people that they are still very much like, I don't want to go ask. And it either seems to be across, I don't want to feel like they see me as stupid because I've asked a daft question, or it's like I don't want to bother that person because they're really busy. Have you got any advice on how people should interact?
I like people just to be direct. Come up, hey Donna, I got a question for you. That's what we're here for. That's why we're wearing these warm flannel shirts. And,
Make sure we stand out.
It's not the latest fashion.
And I've had my share of people that have come up to me. They were timid, nervous. I had one guy that had to get smashed at the bar before he got the courage to go talk to me. I think I'm approachable, but really that's what we're here for. We do this because we want to talk, we want to share, and sure, we may be tired, we may be busy, but this is why we come to interact and help, and that's what we're here for.
Exactly.
How about also in like a work environment? So if you've got either junior team members that maybe just want to learn more, and again, there might be that fear of culture of you don't bother people higher up. Is there any recommendations or anything that you actively do within your orgs that helps people to come and gain knowledge?
So last week I did a training session which was very similar to the sessions I'm bringing here. So while everyone else paid a lot of money to come to this conference, I'm giving it to our IT staff for free, which is invaluable knowledge. I think, a lot of the new hires we have in our organization are people who they get intimidated because they see these other people who work in our IT who have been around for 20 years. And they've only been here a year, and I think it's not so much they're afraid of talking to me, they're afraid to stick out within the IT organization, like, oh, they don't know what they're doing. Because, those things go on our record. I mean, they're part of our review process, if someone has knowledge or doesn't. And I think that's probably more what they're afraid of.
Interesting.
For me, I've had, when we have new people at least come in, start with various the organizations I've worked at, I like mentorship. Mentorship helped me grow, and I love to give back. It's just part of who I am. So, if you're seeing new people, go up to them. Hey, introduce yourself, see if they need anything. I'm going to check in on them. I just started a new job, and, I came in, I'm thinking day one, okay, I'm not going to be timid. I'm not going to be nervous. And yes, I was timid. Yes, I was nervous. There is that natural feeling that you have going into a new organization, especially with Microsoft. Everyone's smart. But I guess that means I'm also smart too because I got hired. It's a hard one. It's a hard nut to crack. But if you see somebody being timid and they're new, help them. Give them the advice. I've already had some of my new coworkers have been fantastic with. Here's what you need to know. Here's what they didn't tell you at orientation. Here's the person you need to talk to. Here's how you cut through some of the BS to get your work done. I really appreciated that help, and looking forward to new team members that I can pass that love back on to. Yep.
One thing I've really noticed at the conference this week is if I choose to sit at the table and not talk to people and introduce myself, then I'm probably not going to get them talking back. So I think something we do as the red shirts, as the plaid shirts, is I found that I'm introducing myself to new people in my sessions. Hey, how are you doing? And then once I do that ice is broken, and they won't they won't stop talking, and that is it's beautiful because I almost feel like they're waiting for us because they do. You're right. You're probably right. They do feel like we're unapproachable, but we're really not. We're here because we love sharing with the community.
And sometimes you just gotta. You're talking about breaking the ice. Once you get like that first person, like at the end of the session or something, once you get that first person that's talking to you and interacting and asking questions, that kind of sets things off for other people. I'm going to go ask a question. It's not fear, I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it, starts to fall away.
It's just getting that ice breaking done. You're off to it.
I mean, Steve, we've talked a lot over the last few days, and we hadn't really talked prior to this, and I don't think if one of us hadn't broken the ice, it would have happened, and I feel like I gained a friend out of this.
It's true, absolutely. It's also a strange one for me because I know this term gets debated a lot, but I still class myself in. I'm pretty much that extroverted introvert personality.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm quite happy when I get going and I'll talk to the cows, come home. But I can tell you now, I will be looking for my room at about 8 o'clock to close down, recharge batteries.
That's exactly how I am.
Very overwhelmed.
I'm the same way.
I think it seems to be a very common type of personality trait within IT generally, and especially when you get to conferences like this. Now, we are at MMS, which is all about the tech and the management stack around Windows, plus a lot of the other peripheral bits and pieces. If there's one either topic area that you've seen this week, all presented on, that has really kind of caught your imagination and you want to run further with it, what would it be?
One word: cloud. So many things are cloud focused at MMS this year, whether it's CM, the CMG in the cloud, Azure Functions, everything cloud, even OS deployment. OSD has got several sessions on the cloud. This is the year for the cloud.
I would totally have to agree. I mean, I've been coming to MMS since 2016, and between then and now, I could see the shift has gone from back then it was all config manager, and I remember when they first started talking about autopilot, there was this new thing, and even the people that were up there at the time were like, well, it's kind of new, it's not quite ready, and then now it's like
It's a focus.
it's right. It's everything somehow tied into the cloud and Azure. Everything. Even if you want to think the traditional config manager sessions, they're always somehow coming around to being tied into.
So we've heard a lot around the whole tenant attach, utilising things like Windows Update for Business rather than WSUS.
The management, everything. It's always tying it somehow up to Microsoft's cloud.
And even Donna's role, cloud.
Yeah, I'm deploying machines in the cloud.
Say 365 is that definition. Of
Yes, it
using
is.
cloud.
We have whole networks that are in the cloud. You don't have to manage. But yeah, the topics and the feel of this really has changed from OSD on-prem. Maybe we'll move that co-management slider over one, two. People have picked up the Kool-Aid and chugged it fiercely, and it's a beautiful thing. But to piggyback off of just my word would be automation. Between Graph and Cousteau and PowerShell, and with all of these cloud solutions out there, people are being able to automate brilliantly and saving themselves time and labor and aggravation by leveraging these cloud solutions that can be automated. Lots of topics on this.
Well, one thing I do not want to go into the cloud is this conference. We need to meet the people, and they need to meet us, and we need to meet each other. And I've made some great friendships at this conference, and that needs to stay.
It's
stay
definitely
down
that
the ground.
50-50, isn't it? 50% sessions learning could just about be done online. There's a networking and the socialising aspect.
Absolutely.
You get to meet people,
I mean,
have the ad hoc conversations.
Sure, you could say that the session itself could be done online, but I've done a couple of sessions over the last couple of years with COVID, and I'll tell you, even from a speaker's perspective, there's nothing like being in front of a live in-person audience. And a number of speakers have told me the same thing. It's like this is totally different. It's as if when you're doing the online stuff, you're just staring at your monitor and your webcam, and you have no idea what what the audience is getting.
Yeah.
When you're in person, you can see, okay, I've lost the audience. I've obviously I got to take a different track because they're really getting this. They're really excited about this particular topic I'm talking about. So I'm going to kind of change course and make sure I focus on it some more. And you don't get that with an online course.
That does make perfect sense. Like gauging at the reaction of the audience to see whether the information is actually sinking in and landing, or you're just totally off topic on it. Yeah, that makes sense. So your time is absolutely precious. I'm not going to take up too much more of your valuable time. I dare say there's people that are waiting to actually ask a ton more questions as well. Before we do go, obviously today is the last day. We're all going to be going back for the weekends and stuff, and hopefully some personal life. Is it going to be a case of you are going to go and do something fun, interesting, different that's outside the tech, or like David, are you going to go straight back into coding more of OSD Cloud?
Well, I'm going to get home on Friday night, and I'm flying out to Redmond on Sunday. So just enough time to hug the wife, hug the kids, wash laundry, and get back on the plane. If I wasn't doing that, I've got my share of hobbies. They're all tech-related and nerdy. So even if I'm not working on work tech, 3D printing, which I do just for fun now. So for me, that's a hoot. IoT, figuring that stuff out. So I'm always going. I'm always thinking, always learning. But I probably just get more sleep.
That does sound like a plan. It sounds like you're going to literally be in and straight back out.
Well, I'm not going to get back in it by myself. I've made some valuable connections this week, and I give it a few days rest, and I think it's time. My next focus on OSD Cloud is working with Mike and Barry Block and several other experts in the community to see what's next as a team. I think COVID put a lot of us into solo work, and I think MMS has now kicked things into meeting who you want to collaborate with to work on the next thing. And I've got several next things lined up with several MVPs and speakers here, and I'm excited about that.
Proper crowdsourcing, I like it.
Crowdsourcing, yes.
And last but not least, Mike.
I'm eventually going to get back into tech over the weekend, but I'm going to get back, home. I'm going to go ride a bike with my wife. I want to think like my wife and I do. I read you every week, and I miss that. So it's like there's going to be some getting back into the normal everyday life, and then maybe Monday pick up on some tech again.
Awesome. Thank you very much, and have a lovely rest of the conference day, and hopefully see you around for a drink at the party side.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks,
Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Thank you very much, Steve.
Thanks for watching this bonus episode. I hope the quality didn't make you suffer too much, but look forward to seeing lots more new episodes dropping weekly on the Tech Life podcast. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, whatever you need to do if you want to see more of this type of content.